up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Just thought I'd take some time this afternoon to go through every detail of our weekend that we had in Wisconsin, the Outlaw Stick Shift Challenge. Our class was put on by Ryan Peterson at Speedy Petey. You know, it was well organized, everything went smooth, we was all pitted together, so it was like just a big family barbecue kind of thing. You know, everybody helping each other, everybody standing close. The communication was great. We had a group chat going on, which we continue to have that going on, but you know, everybody knew what was going on. Everybody was up to the lanes quick. Nobody was dragging around for drivers meetings. Everybody was, you know, spot on with getting stuff done on time where we could keep the race moving. And although we had a little bit of weather that upset things a little bit there at the end, you know, I thought everything went super smooth, so props to Ryan for putting that event on, and we look forward to attending next year. So without further ado, let's jump in to how the weekend went. So whenever we go to the track, the first thing we do is we pull everything out, you know, get the tent set up, pit mat, get the car out there, pull the nose off and fire it up and make sure it gets on the chip. I'm not one of these that really has to warm the car up. I mean, we're not in a winter climate. It was 90+ degrees out there, plenty warm already. I just wanted to make sure it was going to get on the chip or the two-step before we go up there and waste a bunch of time, especially putting all these hot clothes on. It takes a while to get strapped in the car and stuff. I just don't want to go through that unless it's ready to go. So this is what we're doing here. Everything put on, we go up to the line, we're going to make a test hit. This is still testing day on Thursday, the first attempt. We go up there and it launches pretty good. You know, I let out of the clutch way too early. I didn't even let it come up. It was like 2 pounds of boost, just trying to work the nerves out a little bit for the first lick, and it doesn't shift. Try to go into second and it doesn't shift. gonna roll back and do it again if I can. Without no burnout. I can back up. Just I'll do it again.
You probably need to do another burnout.
No, I'm fine. Let's go. Something broke. So I go up for a second attempt, and when I go up there, I try to bump in with some boost, which I don't have my line lock tied into the ECU, so it doesn't really have a way to hold the car. So normally I just roll in there and first stage, and then I go in first, and I'll go ahead and start getting on the chip and let the other guy bump in, because it don't take me but about 2 seconds and I'm ready to go. So that's how I've done it, but I thought I'd try to bump in. Didn't work, rolled through the beams. So I backed up, tried it again. The track's sticky, I don't really need to burn out again. And when I let go of the clutch, I go about 40 feet and bam, transmission case explodes. Don't really explode, but I know the case is cracked based on the sound, because I broke many of the bonds in the carbon drive shafts over the years. I know how that sounds. This was a different sound. This is like hammer hitting steel. So go over here to the transmission. Sounds like a rainmaker in there. Nice big crack all the way down the bottom. Yeah, it goes up the side a little bit, you can't really see, and then it wraps around the bottom here. So immediately quits pulling, transmission's toast. My wife even made a cute little sign to put on it out by the tent. Everybody got a kick out of that. But thankfully the belly pans and stuff on my car caught all the fluid from going on the track. The scatter blanket actually caught the spray off of it, so I had some shrapnel and stuff in there, but nothing come towards me. It all went out the bottom. Well, I pulled over, all the fluid drained out on the side of the track against the wall, so it was easy to clean up, didn't go too far. So after we got that dried up, we pushed the car back. I thought the weekend was completely over. So here we are, broke transmission, 13.5 hours from home, and this isn't a very cheap transmission. This is like 15 grand on Tick's website for the whole assembly. And because I broke the case and because the parts inside it are probably junk, really the only thing usable off this thing is probably the tail housing and the front plate. So I was going to need the brunt of the money to continue going. Not good. So word spreads pretty quick, and Jonathan's about 1.5 hours out from the track. He texts me and says I can use his spare transmission that he always brings with him. The only thing with that transmission is it's a billet case PPG setup, and the gear ratios are a lot taller. So I'm used to the standard G-force stuff, which is I think a 261, 197, 130, and then the 1.0 of course. But I think his was a 243 and a 161 was the step first to second. So a lot taller gears, and you know, but nevertheless it was going to keep me racing. So we started modifying a little bit of things on the bell housing to get it to fit. had to change the yoke on the drive shaft. And before we left the track that evening, we had a transmission back in the car and we was ready to go again. So then the next day we come back, crank it up, put it in gear, do all that stuff, make sure nothing's gonna hit anything or something I've overlooked. So we put some more power in the car, just a little bit, maybe a couple pounds of boost. I think it left on 8 pounds of boost there. The car was a turd. You know, it felt like it stayed in first gear till all the way past the 330, which is what Jonathan said it would do. But when I clicked second, it was a kind of a hard shift. It didn't feel like it made the cut. But then when I pushed it up into third, I immediately knew that the cut wasn't happening because it just kind of hit a wall and I didn't try to force it. I didn't want to tear up nothing in his transmission, so I just kind of coasted out the back. So back to the trailer to figure out why the shift cut's not happening. So now we're back up at the line, got the shift cut issue figured out, and it ended up being something in the background that was that got messed up. I clicked something that auto-populated my inputs to something else where we had them changed for the shift cut the way we've got it done on this car. So got that figured out. Now we're back up here and I've given just a little bit more boost, somewhere around 10 psi on the launch to try to overcome the gearing, and we're about to make this pass.
It popped enough. I couldn't do it.
Glad you're okay, brother. Stop. You were right about the bump.
I'm telling you. You okay, buddy?
Come off the
Are you
freaking
okay?
ground, man.
Good stop.
Come off the freaking ground. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You did.
I was
Definitely did. You were sideways.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It does? When you turned it sideways, I was like, no.
No, I seen the end of the track coming, and I was like,
I
God
knew you hit
almighty.
the gravel and fucking barrel rolling. I'd have rather you go straight good.
You the driver? Alright. Alright. You want to get checked out? You sure? Okay. Alright.
We cleaned that off.
Yeah, it didn't really.
I hadn't come over and talked to you, man.
Well, see, as low as the front is, when I got close
I
to the
know.
end, I thought I'm gonna just hit it out
I'd
of
rather
corner.
rip the front end off than you really do your barrel roll.
Yeah.
I've seen that shit happen. You know, when you come through, I was standing there and the fucking chute was dragging on the ground. And then I saw it plume right about that building right there. So it come out and just drug.
Yeah, I didn't feel it. Oh yeah.
What happened? Shoot didn't come out?
I hit the button and like it just had come out, but it didn't bloom. And like, cause I didn't feel it pop until it got to the building right there, and it was too late then.
Well, before the building, it was just dragging on the ground.
Do you want to get the front end pulled off so you could pull this thing out?
I got the thing here. I got it on film too. Well, the good news is we went 725 at 201, which is fast. Although our 8th mile suffered on that pass and we didn't go as fast as we did even at streetcar takeover on a lot less boost, we still run it out the back door and made a really solid hit, which is this is the fastest the car has been, I guess. So felt good, but when I crossed the stripe, hit the button, parachute handle comes out as you've seen, but about 2 seconds go by, I don't feel the parachute grab the car. So I know something's wrong at that time. I think, you know, maybe it didn't come out at all or whatever. So I start pushing on the brakes pretty hard. And when I pass the first turnoff road, we're still running about 150 and the parachute blossoms then. So when it does, I'm on the brakes hard. It jerks the back of the car up and then throws me into a kind of a drift bounce. I tried to kind of put it into the gravel pit at a 45. I can say that that was just my instinct. It was more than likely just the Lord taking over the wheel. Jesus take the wheel takes a new meaning whenever you're in that situation. But he looked out for me, he looked out for the car, and really, as far as the damage, the front end right there suffered a little bit. You know, really not that bad. It broke the chromoly tree on the inside of the front end from the pressure, but it didn't break the fiberglass, but just in this spot, and it split the fender right there, which is not really that bad. You've got some pressure points where it's pulling the hood down right here where the tree ties in. I have to get a new piece of carbon because it scratched it up pretty good. I was really mad on the way to Wisconsin because the roads are so bad that the four-wheeler rubbed my wrap off of the splitter right here, and this really had me tore up when I got there. So I got humbled pretty quick that now I don't have to worry about that no more. That's the first thing Jonathan said whenever we got the car back to the pit. He come around the trailer with the laptop. He's been working on Troy's tune-up, and he said, well, you don't have to worry about that wrap being messed up on the front end anymore. So what are friends for, right? But very fortunate that nothing really got tore up all but that. We had to pick a bunch of gravel out of the tire. We had to deflate the tire to do that. The rocker area here, you can see it got pushed in where it kind of went into the gravel sideways. It just pushed this whole area in, which won't be that bad to fix. It's below the door, but the front end still goes on great. The doors, I mean, it didn't tweak anything on the car really. It just needs a little bit of body work. So all the guys you seen come rushing down there to see if I was all right. They made me sign off on a bunch of stuff. You know, just everybody looking out for everybody. Ryan sent the rollback down there. We hauled it back to the pit, and then, you know, Lauren's upset, of course. You know, she was scared that I might be hurt or just for the situation. But once we got through all that, and you know, everybody got there, you know, I'm glad you're all right, it's out of the way and stuff like that. And then it was time to look at the car and see, you know, what needed to be done, if we could still race or whatever. So these are some of the pictures right here of us cleaning the car, using an air gun to blow 40 pounds of rocks out of it. I have a vacuum cleaner that over here that I use to cool down the clutch, blow into the bell housing. Fortunately we had that, so we used that to vacuum a lot of the rocks out and stuff. And we worked until about 11:30 that night trying to get everything cleaned up. Ended up cranking the car back up, checking everything. Everything seemed good, so we went home and went to bed and prepared for the next day. So because I had to pull the nose off the car, I put 35 more pounds of ballast on it just to combat a wheelie or something like that, for how we've not got the car really set up to run without a nose and that weight up there. So threw the extra weight on there and went back up there to work my nerves out and make another pass. That was pretty awesome. 732, 194. Look back at the data log. I did let completely off the gas in first to second shift because my shift knob bolt was gone and I didn't even know it. I guess it rattled loose sometime or another, and you can see me in the video. I'm twisting the shift knob in my hand because it's coming up a little bit in my hand every shift. So it kind of unnerved me, especially after going off the end of the track. I didn't know if something was wrong with the car. My brain wasn't working fast enough while I was making the pass, but you know, the car still went pretty good for letting off the gas in first gear. So with doing that, the 725 and the 732, that put us number 3 qualifier out of 26 cars that were left, because unfortunately Jonathan broke the camshaft, John Rogers hurt his motor as well, and those were the 2 that were above me. And I was number 5 originally, but because they broke, I was now number 3. So because of this, Ryan put us in the quick 8 because there was Outlaw, and then we was going to split the class. So this made us be able to skip first eliminations, because all of the cars in the street class, they called it anything that was 825 and slower, those got to run first. So we got to set out So we went straight into E2, and here's what happened. So I was racing Chad. He owns the shop incorporated in Nebraska. Red Corvette, drag and drive, IRS, you know, big turbo, 2,000 plus horsepower. Really fast. He had been like 750s, I think, a 751 that weekend, which is really fast for a stick shift drag and drive. But I had been faster, so he put the heat in it on that pass. He knew I was really lazy on the tree. I mean, everybody knows that by watching my videos. But unfortunately for him, he red lit, and I didn't even know it till I got to the bottom of the track, which I didn't know it because I was too busy, you know, trying to drive a wheelie out. Put way too much power in this thing. Didn't really increase the boost launch, but did back up the ramp about a half second, and it just wouldn't take it. It just felt like a completely different car when it left. It felt like it had double the power that it normally does. And even with the high gear, and it still put it up pretty good. So broke the steering rack. It's nice and floppy there. Just broke the, I guess, the knuckle where it goes, the inside tie rod there where it goes into the rack. It just kind of broke it right there. Didn't even know that till we got it home here. But fortunately for me, that moved me to the next round, which would be E3. And some crazy storm blew up. So right before this storm, Ryan walks up to us, and there's 4 of us left in pro, so in the quick 8. So that's good. That's going to be the higher payout. He asked us. He said, "Do y'all want to split the pot, because it looks like we're about to get hammered?" And all of us agreed, which he didn't have to do that, but you know, fortunately for us, he did, which made us bring home $4,200, which is more than I've ever won at any race. So, you know, that made me happy. That paid for about twice what the trip cost, but you know, obviously it's not going to knock a dent into the repairs on the car, but at least the trip was paid for, which is not hardly ever the case when you go racing. So we were stuck in the trailers. Everything's getting pounded. This is the same storm that flooded Milwaukee above us, but you know, we got everything packed up and back to the Airbnb about midnight like drowned rats. So as far as the parachute deal goes, my wife went and got multiple people to watch her pack the chute to make sure she was doing it right. I let her pack my parachute. You know, she does a great job, and you know, it wasn't her chute packing skills that made it deploy late. What we can figure by the videos and photos is the air coming over the car and the parachute being about a hair bit below the wing. This is just dead area back here, and it pops the parachute out in that dead area and it gets trapped there. The turbulent air coming over the car is so hard it throws it to the ground, because Heath, forget what the guy with the Honda's name is, he just added me on Facebook, but those guys were at the end of the track and they watched it all unfold, and he said that they said the parachute was dragging behind the car until I got to the first road, which is what I told you already on the video, which means it was being held down there by the dead air. So that's something we definitely have to change before we get serious about doing quarter-mile stuff anymore. We're going to change the pack angle, and we're going to get that thing up a little bit higher, if not put 2 parachutes on there, 2 smaller parachutes, because now that we're over 200 miles per hour, it's technically required to have 2 parachutes. So a lot of little details that, you know, I retained from this trip that I learned. You know, we learned how to navigate problems at the track and persevere as long as we have parts available. You know, learned how to manage the car through an accident or running off the end of the track. You know, just a lot of things that humbled me and made me more aware of the situation of racing. And if you don't watch it, you'll get kind of complacent, and it'll feel like, you know, it's just an everyday thing. You're going out there like you're getting on a quad or something and ripping through the yard, but it's not like that. I mean, this is life and death situations, and you have to make split-second decisions, and you got to be prepared for that. And you know, luckily the Lord was looking out for me, and you know, we're standing here with minimal damage, and there's nothing wrong with me besides my kidneys hurting still from driving on those horrible roads up there on the way back. But anyway, that's a lot of talking, but I wanted to walk you through the weekend and the awesome time we had in Wisconsin. Thank you again, Ryan Peterson at Speedy Petey, for putting this event on. We look forward to coming back next year once we figure out how to get this thing back up and going. So see you guys next time.